This podcast is brought to you by lineupmedia.fm.
You know what they say about one bad apple? Well, we've got two. Gather round, boys and girls, and get ready for a different kind of story time. It's American Animals. All your favorite athletes, entertainers, and weirdos are coming to you like you've never heard them before. It's uncensored. It's not safe for work. It's a goddamn zoo. From the OC to oh shit. Join Erik, Bad Apple, and Ian, Uncle Creepy McCall. Every Wednesday on Hot Button from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific. American Animals on Hot Button. Get some.
All right, guys, check it out. The time is now to get on board with some sports betting, and you got to do it with our sponsor, BetDSI.com. They've been in business for over 20 years, one of the top-rated businesses, and it's safe to play there. Use our code ANIMALS10. They're going to double your initial deposit plus a free $10. It's easy to use, and they have great customer service. Fastest payments of winnings, and like I said, it's a 100% bonus on your first deposit. Thousands of wagers, NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA. You can even vote on who's going to win the presidential election. You know it's hilarious. Get in there. And again, make sure you check your local laws and regulations before you do so. One more time, check it out. It's betdsi.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is American Animals with your host, Erik Bad Apple. And tonight, Ian McCall is not with us, so I had my good friend pop over from here in Hollywood. His name is none other than Toddy Bowman. Todd, thanks for coming over and hanging out with us.
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Todd, we have a lot going on this week. We're going to chat about... Well, first we're going to chat about what we're up to this week, and then after that we're going to get to some current events, and we have a big guest. We have one of the champions of the UFC is going to be on with us, so that's going to be sort of exciting, don't you think?
Good, man. Let's do this.
Well, man, hanging out here at the Dash Radio Studios, you might also be listening to us on the LMG Podcast Network. That's Lineup Media Group. All kinds of good content on both of these platforms. We're definitely stoked to be a part of it. Also want to thank, obviously, BetDSI and BJPenn.com for supporting us as well. Todd, what's going on this week? What's new in your life, buddy?
Oh, just the usual nightlife, vibe.
So Todd, for people who don't know, we'll get in a little bit about what he does later on, but Todd works at one of the mainstays of nightlife here in Hollywood, and that's Warwick. That's a club that Wednesday nights is probably your guys' biggest night, I'd say, right?
I would say so. It's been our biggest night for almost 3 years now.
It's been almost 3 years, man. Time really flies, doesn't it?
It feels like it was yesterday.
Man, I could not imagine living that life. I mean, fuck, I would be in trouble working at a club 3 nights a week. It's just all these little things that are out there for you to take, and just, oh god,
those little chicks running around every night.
I would seriously be tempted to do all kinds of horrible things.
Easy.
Is it hard for you?
Yeah, very hard. It's easy to get into trouble.
So what do we have going on in the world this week? I mean, man, first of all, politics is crazy to watch this week. I mean, I don't really want to get on who's on what side, but man, I got anxiety watching the news every day and seeing what's going on both sides for both Trump and Clinton. It's like just so much shit is going down. It's like, fuck, I can't wait for this. I can't wait for it to be over.
It's a pretty scary situation on both sides, I would say.
And I think one crazy thing is, I think even if Hillary wins, she's going to court. She's going to have some real problems. Even if she wins the election, she's going to have some real issues. Like on one of these things is going to stick, and she's going to get at least indicted, if not found guilty. It's going to be fucking chaos here the next year in America.
I'm thinking we got issues on both sides.
Yeah, it's been pretty nuts for sure. And man, the World Series has been a crazy thing to pay attention to. I can't believe how big of a drought it's been for both the Indians and the Cubs. It's really been a long drought for both those teams. So at least it's going to be over for one of them, right?
Yeah, as soon as this rain gets by.
Well, we are. I'm paying attention to it right now. Now, this show is not live, Todd. So by the time everyone hears this, they're going to know who already won the World Series. But we're watching it right now, and just so you know, the Cubs have a guy on second base already.
Oh, they already got back to it.
Yep, they got it going again. They got it going again for sure. So I want to talk about some of the man, some stuff that's going on in the world of sports and world of MMA. One big thing that we saw this week, of course, you know who Luke Rockhold is?
Of course.
Luke pulled out of his fight just yesterday or today. He had a fight with another top 5 guy, Jacare, who he actually fought before and beat. They're supposed to have a rematch in Australia. It's supposed to be the main event, and Luke pulled out. That's really going to leave the UFC in a tough position because, I mean, it was really looking like the winner of that fight was going to get a title shot against Michael Bisping. Now I don't know what's going to happen. Bisping wants to fight, but I don't know if he really was in a big rush to fight a guy like Jacare because Jacare is pretty tough.
What happened with him? Why did he pull out?
So Rockhold he's had a relatively bum knee. I think he's had a knee injury more than once, more than twice, and it just kind of goes with the territory in MMA. You know, I mean, if you're going to do a contact sport, just like with hockey, football, anything you're banging with the boys, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be sore. There's not really that much you can do about it. A lot of people give a lot of flack to that team up there. Luke's team is called American Kickboxing Academy, AKA, and they've got a lot of heat over the years for having a lot of guys pull out of fights. Mainly their heavyweight champ, the guy who used to be heavyweight champion, Cain Velasquez. He was UFC heavyweight champion for quite a while, but he's pulled out of a ton of fights and always gotten heat over it. People say, "Oh, they must be training too hard up there. They must be going too hard up there. They're hurting each other." But man, number one, you have guys who are champions coming out of your gym. So who's to say that they're not doing the right thing, right? You got champs. Yeah, they're getting hurt, but our guys are the fucking champions. Who's going to tell them that you guys don't know what you're talking about up there? You guys are doing it wrong. I'm not, are you?
No way.
So it's a difficult situation. Those guys get a lot of heat, but they produce some really, really good fighters. I mean, guys like John Fitch, guys like Luke Rockhold, guys like Cain Velasquez, of course DC, the light heavyweight champion, Daniel Cormier. I mean, they got a lot of great fighters and a lot of great champions. So to go in there and tell them, "Fuck, you guys don't know what you're doing," it's kind of difficult. I don't know, but it's unfortunate for Luke. I know Luke recently put together a new deal to UFC to come back because he wasn't very happy with his existing contract. He got a new deal to come back, fight main event, and most likely whoever won that fight was going back for a title shot, and now he's got to sit out, and that's the name of the game. I mean, fighting in general is a tough sport. It really is a tough sport. Another big thing going on in the news this week is our boy Victor Ortiz is looking for a fight. Did you see that today?
I did not see that.
Yeah, Victor, he wants to get back in the ring, and he wants to fight one of his old teammates.
Oh, really? Who's that?
So you know that Victor for a long time was training up in Ventura. When he moved out from, first he was in Kansas, and he lived in Colorado with his sister. I had Victor on the show here before. Victor came in and had a great time with us. And Ortiz trained up here with Rob Garcia in Ventura and with Rios and all those other guys, and that's it. Victor Ortiz challenged Brandon Rios to a fight, and Brandon Rios accepted on social media, or at least over video during the interview. So now it's up to the promoters to get the fight together.
Pretty gnarly.
Well, they used to be teammates. They used to train together, the whole deal. So that's an easy fight to sell, right?
Sounds like it.
Of course, everyone knows Victor Ortiz. I mean, he had a title fight against. He had a title fight against Floyd a couple years ago. Remember the fight where he was actually doing really well, roughing Floyd up, headbutted Floyd. Referee stopped the fight, and Victor went to kind of shake hands and apologize. He put his hands out, and Floyd got him, sucker punched him pretty much, dropped him, and that was the end of the fight. It was a pretty ironic ending, or something, I guess you could say. I don't know how to describe it, but it was a crazy ending for a huge fight like that. A lot of people didn't know what to think and weren't very happy about it, but unfortunately, that's what Victor is known best for. But Victor's awesome. He's a really, really fun guy. As we see, the Cubs now are winning and have the bases loaded.
Oh, wow.
So it looks like they might take it home. So what do you think about Victor going back and fighting one of his old teammates?
Well, I think the guys are going to know each other's ins and outs for sure. They used to train together, so it's going to be pretty gnarly to watch that.
And there must be some legit some legit bad blood there. I mean, it's not like we don't know each other and we're just pretending we don't like each other. These guys hung out every day and trained every day together. So if they're saying fuck that guy, I hate that guy, I'm gonna beat him up, they must be legit. That's real.
Or something happened behind the scenes that we that all of us are unaware of.
Well, I mean, you don't have to be an absolute detective to realize that, you know, when guys leave a team, the people on that team and the coach are usually like, you know, fuck him, he left us.
Very true.
So that and another thing that I just found out tonight, former UFC lightweight champion Rafael dos Anjos, he actually left King's MMA, which is shocking to me as we change gears to MMA for a minute before we go to our first song. RDA, as he's known, he has a fight this weekend against Tony Ferguson, the main event of UFC Fight Night Mexico City this Saturday. And man, I can't believe Dos Anjos left a team like King's MMA, which is, I mean, they're like family over there. It's really weird for me to see guys leave a team they've been with for years, guys who are, you know, champions or have really, really good records. Like, you've won all these fights, and then you lose one, and you think I have to go. I'm leaving. I'm out. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's like you lost one fight, dude. Everyone loses. It's not the team's fault. It's not your coach's fault. Go back to work with the same people to me, I think you should be loyal to the same people and go back to work with those guys and figure out what you did wrong. I trip out on guys who look around at their teammates or their coach and be like, man, I got to go somewhere else because I lost once. Because it's in fighting, it's not like other sports. In football, the best team in the NFL, there's a good chance they can go undefeated, right? Because it's a long game, there's a lot of plays. But in fighting, even the best guy, someone's going to get him now and then. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go undefeated in fighting or boxing or MMA unless your name's Floyd Mayweather. Hey guys, this is Erik from American Animals, and wow, I was listening to the Ocho Man Behind the 8 Ball podcast the other day, and I realized this might be one of the funniest fucking shows I've ever heard. You've got to check it out. These guys do 2 shows a week on the Lineup Media FM network, and I'm listening to all of them now. You can get them on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or ochoman.com. American Animals is back, and I forgot to mention, make sure you guys check us out, www.2americananimals.com. That's www.2americananimals.com, and at 2AmericanAnimals on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's a number 2. I got to spell it out for you guys. Erik Appel still hanging out here with Toddy Bowman. Todd, thanks for coming over and keeping me company.
Thanks for having me, bud.
Yeah, so let's go. Let's finish our current events. Let's talk about more about what's going on in the MMA world. This is we're not strictly an MMA show, but you know, we talk about a lot of different sports, a lot of different current events. But man, we have so many MMA fans, and since Ian and I are fighters, obviously, you know, we want to recap what's going on in the world of MMA. And man, I do love that song. I do love 1980 by Dirt Nasty.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
I mean,
that guy's the man. He's hilarious.
The look on his face when in the beginning, when he's like, "I'm on cocaine," he gives a smile and tilts his head sideways, is absolutely hilarious. And he's been in here. He's in here all the time. He's done a lot of the shows here. I've done a show with him here. He's a fun dude.
Yeah, you can't not like that guy. His social media and
Simon's pretty fucking funny, dude.
All his stuff that he does is just classic.
So let's see what else is going on in the world of MMA. Former bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw has been lined up to fight John Lineker. That's a 135-pound fight, and that right there could definitely lead to a number 1 contender spot against the winner of Cody Garbrandt and Dominick Cruz, who we are going to have here on the show later tonight. TJ Dillashaw is a former champion, and he was the one who held the belt for quite a long time when Dom was hurt. Dominick Cruz had 2 knee surgeries and a groin surgery. He was the champion, had all these injuries, didn't fight for literally years, came back, had 1 fight that lasted 30 seconds, smoked Mizugaki. Right after that fight, got hurt again, had another surgery. So he fought, I believe, once in 4 years.
Wow.
And he was the champion. I mean, talk about, I mean, imagine being in the prime of your life and you are the UFC champion of the world and you're just constantly hurt, having surgeries. He had a knee surgery, had his ACL replaced, a cadaver ACL, and his body rejected it. So that right there, he had surgery, went through the recovery, 6-8 months later, body rejects it. You got to start over.
It's a bummer.
At least. I mean, how can you imagine sitting out that long and you're in your 20s, you're the world champion? You know, you've just got to the point in your life where you are finally making some money. You're a champion. You're getting paid. You're gonna not only are you getting your money, your show money, your win money. You're getting a cut of the pay-per-view now. You're getting a certain amount of dollars every pay-per-view they sell, and you fucking sit for years. Oh man, and all that time, and I've known Dom a long time. I was actually his first paid sponsor when I was running the Metal Militia. I always helped him. I actually paid him, and I used to pay him a salary. So even the months he didn't fight, he got a check. I wanted to help him. And when he wasn't fighting for those years, fuck, I felt so bad for him. I mean, just kids in the prime of his life should be making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year, and he's sitting on the couch fucking recovering from multiple knee surgeries and a groin surgery. So TJ Dillashaw was the guy who after that stepped up. He beat Renan Barão, took his belt. He was a champion there for a little bit in that weight division. But Dom, after being out for all those years, he came back, and first he was out for years and came back for a title fight, which is crazy. You'd think he'd have some warm-up fights. Came right back in and fucking went right after the champ and won. Pretty impressive.
I like that.
I mean, how many sports can you imagine where a guy sits out like that and comes back in against the best in the world? It's a pretty big statement for Dominick Cruz. So that fight's going to be interesting. John Lineker is a guy who's moving from 125 up to 135 pounds. And he had a lot of trouble making weight at 125. Actually, he fought my co-host here on the show, Ian McCall, and he missed weight by like 6 pounds, which is huge. Ian accepted the fight anyways because he just wanted to fight and wanted to make money, the whole deal. And lost a close decision to Lineker, who was much, much bigger. And it was funny because Ian's one of the best flyweights in the world. And Dana White told John Lineker after the fight, he said, "Hey, congratulations, you just beat a flyweight. You're now a bantamweight." He told him something along those lines publicly, like, "You're not allowed to fight this weight class anymore. You miss weight by that much. We're making you move up. You don't even get to try anymore." So when you're a fighter and you have somebody miss weight against you, it's a big deal, because that's like it's a thing with fighters. Like, if a guy misses weight, it's super disrespectful, not only to your opponent but to the promoter and to the sport in general. Like, you fucking make weight. Guys who miss weight, other fighters look at them and go, "Fuck that scumbag," because I killed myself to make weight, and I did it, and I hit the weight that I signed a contract saying I'm going to weigh this much this day. And I did it, and that asshole didn't do it. Fuck him. So it's hard to explain. I don't know. I mean, can you get a grasp? But like, I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. Do you understand it?
I get it.
It's because you're killing yourself. Killing yourself. All these high level guys are struggling on a day-to-day basis. I can't explain it to you. I can't explain the importance of it in your mind. For myself, and I know for other fighters, I mean, literally my weight's on my mind all day. For 8 weeks, 10 weeks before a fight, I'm just, fuck, what do I weigh? You step on the scale like 10 times a day. Step on the scale when I wake up. I can take a piss and take a shit. Step on the scale again. See what I weigh. Go work out. Come back, see what I weigh. Recover, eat something, see what I weigh. Like, you're just constantly checking your weight all day. You're just stressing like, fuck, I got to lose 20 more pounds of body weight. And then I got to lose 10 pounds of water. Some of these guys are 30, 40 pounds over their fight weight in the off season, it's hard. I don't know. I mean, can you imagine taking, how much do you weigh right now, Todd?
I weigh about $180.
So imagine you would fight a 155 or maybe even 145. There's guys who fight at 145 who walk around $180.
It's pretty gnarly.
So can you imagine, I got to step on that scale and I got to weigh 145 or even 155. It's not a fucking joke. Yeah, you would fight at 45.
145?
Yeah. That's what guys who fight at 145 walk around about 180, 175.
I couldn't even tell you the last time I weighed 145.
Well, it's
probably
not,
when I was maybe in ninth grade.
Well, it's not real though. You don't really weigh 145. I make 170. I don't really weigh 170. I weigh 203. But I weigh 170 for 20 minutes. See, I'll train and I'll be on a diet until I get down to where I'm 181, 182, and I'm skinny as fuck. I'm like 4 or 5% body fat. You can see the bones in my chest, my ribs. Like I look bad. I look unhealthy. And it is unhealthy. I mean, once you get under 6% body fat, it's not good for you. You definitely start feeling it. You get sick much easier. People get colds. People get flu. People get diarrhea. You get sick to your stomach easier. You don't have as much energy. I mean, so that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize when they watch fights, you know? Like, you ever watch a fight and like see these guys and they look tired? And you're like, what the fuck? These guys are professional fighters. Why are they so tired? You ever think that?
Yeah, sure.
Most people don't get it because these dudes fucking killed themselves cutting weight. They're not healthy. You know, it's that trade-off where do I want to be the bigger fighter, bigger, stronger guy, or do I want to have more energy? Or I meet in the middle. And it's really, really common for fighters to be sick during their fights because you have a 10-week training camp, you're cutting weight, you're beating yourself up, you're really, really wearing down your immune system. So, I mean, so many fighters are not in the best condition when they fight. So a lot of people are like, oh, I don't get it. These guys are supposed to be pros. Why they look so tired? These guys suck. It's like that dude is in really good shape. Trust me. But he might be sick. He might be hurt. The guy fucking cut 15 pounds of water yesterday. Like I want you to go, put a sauna suit on, put a sweatsuit on, fucking sit in the sauna and fucking shadow box and run for hours until you lose 12, 13, 14, 15 pounds of just sweat and tell me how you feel the next day.
That's pretty crazy.
And then do a 25-minute fight with another dude who is really, really good at hurting people. Like, people don't get it. It's like, I hear it all the time, like, oh, these guys suck. They're tired. They're pieces of shit. What the fuck? It's like, bro, that guy beat the shit out of himself for 10 weeks before this. He lost 30 pounds. He cut 12 pounds of water yesterday. He feels terrible. He does not feel good. And he's out there fucking busting his ass against another guy who's a high level guy who beats people up for a living. Like, it's not, I always laugh at people who think they could like watch fights, go, I could do that, or think they could do that. I go, bro, you have no idea. You have no idea. Because we never see guys go, oh fuck, I skated around a hockey rink once or twice. I could do that.
Very true.
I mean, it's funny that we see athletes from other sports talk about or joke about like, oh yeah, I want to fight, or and in their minds they think they have a shot. It's like, you don't have a shot, bro. I'm not fucking calling the LA Kings going, hey, I'm a professional fighter and I've driven race cars in my life. I think I can fucking play hockey. You think I was going to pay attention to me?
I don't think so.
So I always trip out like the whole CM Punk thing. You saw that, right?
No, I didn't.
The pro wrestler CM Punk, he fought in the UFC a couple months ago, and he got fucking smoked.
Oh, really?
He got smoked.
Christ.
Smoked. But I mean, he's a famous pro wrestler. He brought in a lot of pay-per-views. They sold a shitload of pay-per-views because of him, so they made money and they gave him a shot. He trained for almost 2 years straight. He quit wrestling and trained MMA for 2 years and went out there and got smoked immediately. Smoked by a guy who they brought in specifically to fight him. They didn't even have him fight like a real UFC guy. They went out and got like another beginner to fight him, and he still got smoked.
Wow.
Pretty funny. So what else we have going on? We talked about Luke Rockhold dropping out of his fight versus Jacare, the rematch. TJ Dillashaw, John Lineker is going down. Oh man, John Jones, everyone's favorite former champion who can't stay out of trouble.
I like that guy a lot.
He's out of control. He just had his arbitration hearing with USADA. And USADA is the governing body that the UFC employs to oversee all of their fighters' drug tests and in competition, out of competition drug tests. So basically, a year or so ago, the UFC hired USADA, and USADA now tests everybody, even if you don't have a fight coming up. They just fucking come to your house, knock on the door, 6 a.m. Wake up. You got a piss of this, or give us some blood right now. So it used to be that people only got tested when you had a fight coming up, right? And usually you only got tested the night of your fight. So you would like for myself, like a whole bunch of times in both Nevada, where else? Texas, Kansas, even California. I knew I was going to get tested the night of my fight, most likely. And I had a belt. I was a champion. So the way the rules used to go is if you were a champion or you were fighting against a champion, you were 100% going to be tested that night. You knew you were going to be tested, guaranteed. The rest of the guys who were fighting, you would randomly be tested. Sometimes they test you, sometimes they didn't, but they wouldn't tell you. So everyone thought they were being tested. So, but they would only do it that night. So you would know, okay, if there are guys who were doing steroids, doing PEDs, they knew like, okay, I'm going to be tested on this day. I know I have this long to get shit out of my system, right? And that's with anything, guys who smoked weed, guys who are doing juice, whatever. So now the way the game works is they fucking come to your house and you don't know when, ever. They just show up, knock on the door, 6 a.m. Morning, sir. I want some blood and some piss. And therefore, now we've seen something like, I don't know, a 30-fold increase of fighters being busted for drugs, PEDs, all kinds of shit.
So do you think that's going to, well, obviously that's going to hinder things.
Well, yeah. Fights
and
sure. I mean, the UFC has lost
these big names that they're losing for these fights.
Yeah, they're having guys. And the minimum now, supposedly the minimum suspension is 2 years. If you're found guilty, minimum time you're out is 2 years if it's your first offense.
It's a little hefty.
You think?
Yes.
Now I'm not disagreeing with you. There's people out there who think that fighters should be banned for life. I don't agree with that, but there are people who say that. Like, fuck that. This is a combat sport. You're trying to hurt someone, and if you're cheating, people say you could kill someone. Which I'm not necessarily saying I agree with it, but there are people out there who think there should be a lifetime ban if you were caught doing steroids in combat sports. But a lot of guys have been getting busted, buddy. A lot of guys. And John Jones, he had two illegal substances come up in his system. This is a while ago, a couple months ago. Everyone knows he pulled out of his fight, UFC 200 with Daniel Cormier. Had to pull out of the fight. Or it wasn't 200, it was a different card. But he had to pull out of that fight, and supposedly he is using the, my supplements were bad. I had tainted supplements. And supposedly they proved it now. So he just had his hearing the other day. USADA is going to make their announcement in a couple days or a week to see what their decision is. And then after that, he has to still go. After that, he has to see the Nevada State Athletic Commission because his fight was going to be in Nevada. And those are the people who busted him. And they might give him their own little suspension or fine or both. Because remember, he's been in trouble before. He had coke in his system a couple years ago.
So all this stuff's just going to keep adding up.
Oh, well, it's like when you go see a judge. You know, I don't know how much trouble you've been in your life or how many friends you've had in trouble in your life, but when you get arrested and go to see a judge, and let's say you get a little bit of time or you get probation or you get whatever, right? But if you go back and see that same judge a year later, you get in trouble again.
It's only going to keep getting worse.
He ain't going to be cool. He's going to be like, yo, I remember you. Last time you were here, you did this, and you said you were really, really sorry, and now you're still being a dickhead. You're still fucking up, huh? And now I gotta deal with you again and figure out how to punish you now. So even I don't know. I mean, even if they say that it was tainted supplements, I could see them fucking him and tell him you can sit for a little while or pay a huge fine. I mean, we just saw Conor McGregor get a fucking giant fine recently. 75 grand or 150 grand, something like that. Not a joke these days. They're willing to take your money. Hey guys, this is Erik Apple from American Animals, and yo, if you like our show and you're a real MMA fan, you got to check out Funky Van Askren, Joe Warren, and Sean Wheelock on the Lineup MMA podcast. These guys got some of the biggest name guests in the entire sport of fighting, and they talk about the shit that other fighters are scared to talk about. So check them out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or lineupmma.com. Well, we are back here in Hollywood, California, coming to you from the Dash Radio Studios. You might also be listening to us on the LMG Podcast Network. Thanks for hanging out with us here at American Animals. Erik Apple hanging out with Toddy Bowman. Ian McCall is at home resting. He has a big fight in Ireland coming up. And it's cool to check out the new Metallica song. It's cool to see Metallica still making music after all these years. But we're going to welcome to the show right now the bantamweight undisputed champion of the UFC, Dominick Cruz, the Dominator. Dom, thanks for calling in for us, buddy.
All good. How you guys doing?
We are rocking and rolling up here, and I'm stoked to have you on. Now, don't think this gets you off the hook. I am going to drag you in here one of these nights when you're in L.A., but I know you like to stay down south as much as you can.
Yeah, I'm just training right now, man. I'm in camp, so it's like I come up to L.A. and I'm working all the time, so if I'm not working, then I'm training, and it's just a lot of stuff, so I try to stay on it.
Well, we just saw that you looks like you have a fight that's been announced, and it's kind of hard for me to really see this fight coming up for you because I don't really think this kid has earned a shot against you, even though he's done well. He's only got 5 UFC fights and not really very many fights against high level guys. That's Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, what's to be earned is not up to me. This is a company that's run by professionals that are worth over $4.2 billion. That being said, I don't run this company; they do, and who they decide to put in there against me is their choice. You've watched the way these fights have gone, and it's not always, the most athletic specimens that are getting these shots. It's a lot of times the people who have a voice, who have a following, who have some sort of personality, and regardless of whether, 5 knockouts in the UFC is proven to people or not, he got the shot, and he's got a personality. So I think those two things together, him being undefeated, having knockouts, and having somewhat of a personality, it's given him the shot, plain and simple.
I feel like you're being so polite saying he has a personality. Because normally you like to engage in some good trash talk, and you're one of the best at it, if not the best.
Well, we'll see when I face him. Right now, we're talking logistics and how people got the fight. And the way I look at it, he's got more personality than other people that are in the top 5 right now. In the sense of he screams and he yells and he's got emotional issues, and a lot of people can connect with that. Apparently,
I love it. Well, it's interesting to me because. It's the fight business is so different and cliquey and weird because, as you know, Dom, it's not always about the best guy. Just like you said, it's about selling fights. Sometimes the number one contender versus the champion that's not always the fight that makes the most money and sells the most tickets and the most pay-per-views, right?
Well, realistically, that's true, but that's not necessarily the case with this because really the only person selling the lump sum of pay-per-views on this card is Ronda Rousey. Let's be honest. She started a trend in women's MMA that has sparked a following that's unprecedented. Like, nobody has done it other than her in women's division. So she's realistically being somebody who's so different, who started a new chain in fighting in the women's division, who Dana White at one point said would never, ever have a place in the UFC. Now, because of Ronda Rousey, they have it. Anybody can try to say that that's not true, but it is true. She's the one who's going to drive the sales to this card. So at this point, I just take who they give me because I'm going to be on that card. I'm excited to be on that card with somebody who's made history, and we're going to co-headline the fight together. So I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, you got to be thrilled being a champion, and I have to assume I'm not going to dive into your business too much, but I have to assume you make a pretty penny on every single pay-per-view. So it's got to be a nice feeling when you hear that you're going to be on the same card as a Ronda Rousey or someone of that nature.
Well, it's not always just about being on the same card. It's about performing. You got to go out there and perform, and bigger than that, you've got to perform to get the spot. You know what I mean? And that's basically what's happened. I was out for 3.5 years. I came back and faced somebody who hadn't been losing. So that earned me a position to be able to get on this card. If I wouldn't have won that fight, I wouldn't have been here. So it doesn't matter really what you did. It's about being in the right place at the right time. And thank God I've worked for it. I've earned it. You know better than any, Eric. I've been with you ever since I was back with old sponsors that you helped hook me up with, plain and simple.
Yeah, like 2006.
And those were the days when I was making nothing. I was barely skating by, living on floors and air mattresses, trying to make it. So there's no reason I haven't worked my way to this position to get it. To be honest, it's far overdue in my opinion. So I'm just glad to be here and thankful to be here because not too long ago, I was just sitting on my butt trying to bend my knee 10 times.
Yeah, It's definitely you definitely have a story, and someone who I've been to a lot of your fights. I've had the opportunity to meet your mom, and I know your story, and I know you told me her story and all the stuff she put herself through to try to raise you right. And of anyone out there that a fan should want to see succeed and stay at the top and be a champion, it's you, because nobody has worked harder and overcome, not necessarily like you had all these problems in your life growing up, but you didn't have it. Nobody handed you anything, and you had to work hard. And like you said, you slept on floors, you slept on air mattresses, you were fighting for nothing. You weren't making that much money because you had a belief in yourself that might be as powerful or more powerful than any other fighter I could ever think of, because you more than anyone have you've had this thing in your head, like, I'm going to be the champion, I'm going to be the best in the world, and there's no way around that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the only way it gets done, though. You have to put everything you have into it. And when I talk about living on air mattresses and living on floors, I don't speak for just myself. I speak for fighters in general, realistically, because that's how you start in this game, just like actors do, Like, actors don't just get the number one shot right off the bat. They have to work hard, be in a bunch of small films, all this stuff, make no money. It's the same thing with fighting. You got to take a lot of risky, tough, hard fights in order to get the one that's going to pay you. And that's just the game. And when you accept that and you're willing to take that chance, then you do well. And the only way you're willing to take that chance is to actually love what you're doing. So I'm fortunate enough to have that.
So Dom, most people who are talking to you or interviewing you are going to ask the typical MMA questions about your upcoming fight and what does Cody do that scares you or worries you, and how are you going to beat him? But I don't want to ask those kinds of questions. I want to kind of delve into some things that other people may not have asked you about. Now, for people who don't know, Dominick and I were both champions at the same time in a show called Total Combat, and it's one thing that I really look back to, Dom, is our time when we were fighting in places like San Diego, or for myself, I'm not sure. Did you ever fight in Tijuana as well?
No, I fight in TJ, but I.
Are you still there? We were. Yeah. Sorry,
Hello?
we were losing you for a second. But one thing that I was looking back at, and I was actually just talking to Chuck Liddell about this this week. Do you feel like it's kind of a cool relationship with the sport, because you were there before the sport was big and you were a part of it growing and being successful? Like, do you look back at some of these old shows you fought at, like in Rage of the Cage and all these places, like say in Arizona where they weren't big shows, or for myself, I fought in Tijuana, and I look back at some of the places I fought at, and at the time I was like, man, this is ghetto and this is terrible. It doesn't seem that safe. But you look back and you're like, man, that was kind of cool, actually. Like, I crossed the border and fought in Mexico, or I fought in a nightclub in Arizona.
Yeah, no, it's looking back, I'm just it kind of baffles me, to be honest, as to if I had to think of all the things that I was going to have to risk in order to get here. I don't know if I would have had the guts to do it, but kind of ignorance is bliss. And when I started in this sport, it was something that realistically, I was fighting all the time where I grew up in Tucson. Like, I was at parties, house parties, you're just hanging out. It's not a party, it's like a barbecue, anything. And you just get in fights out there where I'm from. It just happens. And I was doing it anyways. So starting to prize fight, being young, being 20, 21, all of us are just crazy, going hard. I know you were the same. I know Ian was the same. That's just the way it is. Like, when you're young, you're just all in. And so I might as well make $50 from it rather than nothing. That's always how I looked at it, and I enjoyed it. So I still had all my jobs while I was fighting in these small shows. I would have 3-4 jobs at the same time, and then have to go show up for this fight on the weekend, come back to work on Monday with 2 black eyes and, a busted nose. And my boss is like, yo, man, you can't come to work like that. You're a mess. Like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? And I'm just like, man, you can't give me this day off. I need the money.
You got to give me a raise, motherfucker. I need.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it's hard.
Hey guys, Erik Apple from American Animals here, and guess what? Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. And you get it right through our website. I'll tell you one example and a great thing I would recommend. I'm a Star Wars fan, and the best thing to do is listen to audiobooks, the Star Wars audiobooks. They're great, and they have awesome sound effects as well. So download your free audiobook today. go to audibletrial.com/animals. Again, that's audibletrial.com/animals for your free audiobook, or check out our website, www.2americananimals, and that's the number 2americananimals.com. Welcome back to American Animals. Erik Apple hanging out with Toddy Bowe in place of Ian McCall, and we still have on the line none other than the reigning undisputed champion of the UFC bantamweight division, none other than Dominick the Dominator Cruz. And Dom, I appreciate your candor and how real you're being with us, talking about the old days. I love it. I have another question for you that you may or may not have been asked before, and I like to ask different questions to get different kind of thoughts out of our guests. You and I both experienced our first loss in our career on the same night, WC 26 in 2007 at the Hard Rock. I fought Brock Larson. You fought Uriah Faber. And this is something that I experienced that night, and I don't know if you experienced the same thing, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Did you feel a sense of relief or a weight off your shoulders once you got that first loss out of the way, and then so you can move forward and just not think about having to win every fight?
Yeah, that's funny you say that. That's a very fair question. I did kind of, I think. Yeah, I think more than anything, I think it was the level of fighter that I was facing at that moment in my career. At that moment in my career, that was my very first camp with my coach now, Erik Del Fierro. I did about a 6-week camp. Simultaneously for that 6-week camp, I was working 40 hours a week as a janitor and a trainer, and I sold memberships at a gym here in San Diego. So doing all that, I had that was my very first time in Vegas ever. Everything mixed together, man. I was just I'd never been on TV before. That was my first fight ever on TV. I was completely overwhelmed with that. It was very healthy for me. I'm glad I faced it then, because the biggest key to that whole situation, Apple, was knowing that I was facing the best guy in the world in the lighter divisions at that time. And that was Faber. He was the best in the world at that time.
Yeah, at the time, 100%. That's what everyone thought.
And I was dead center on getting that back. And the guy you faced was just a rockhead. That guy is a monster. He was a scary guy. He reminded me of the Rock guy from Neverending Story. He actually looked like him. But the whole night was eerie because I hadn't been ready for that level of exposure. I remember I went out to a steak dinner. I don't tell a lot of people the story. I went out to a steak dinner that night, and it was it was a $65 steak. They bought a $100 lobster for me. It was after weigh-ins. And I remember I was just so overwhelmed sitting at this super nice restaurant. I'd never been to a restaurant like that in my entire life, or been treated to a $100 lobster in my whole life. I had to, get out, go call my mom and tell her, talk to her about it. It was crazy. It was just, it was so trippy. It was my 21st birthday that weekend that I was fighting. And so when I went out there and fought, man,
just full deer in the headlights.
Dude, it was deer in the headlights, and it was just fun. Looking back, it was crazy. The thing I got to do, to get to do that and face that level of opposition early. I knew where I was. Literally, even though I lost in that first round, I knew where I was immediately, and I knew what I had to fix. And all I had to do was fix my submission defense. And if I fixed my submission defense and continued to grow, I would be the best in the world. That's what I literally learned from that fight. And along the way, I learned that Faber was kind of a prick at the time. But it's all good, It's all good. We all live and we learn. That is old news for me. I handled that business, and I couldn't have let go of it any more than I have. 3 fights with that guy.
For sure. I mean,
no issue.
And you got to consider yourself fortunate, because there's a lot of people who might be in that position who fought an opponent before they were necessarily ready, or someone like you who you hadn't reached your pinnacle yet, and you fought that guy before you hit your pinnacle, and you took a loss that you always knew you could get back. And some people don't get that opportunity, so it's awesome that you not only got that opportunity once, but you got it twice to really put a stamp on it in case there's anybody with a doubt. I have another question for you. Was John McCarthy your referee for that fight?
I don't remember, man. That's a great question. See, I don't remember.
I remember. No,
I think it was Herb Dean.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I had John McCarthy for that fight with Brock Larson.
It was Herb Dean, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was Herb Dean, wasn't it?
Oh
my gosh, it's so crazy.
I remember consciously thinking, fuck, John McCarthy's my ref. As I was fighting, I had the deer in the headlights too. Fuck.
How about this? When I walked out in And I saw Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, and those were the only faces I saw in the entire crowd at the Hard Rock.
Yeah,
I was like, holy crap! Like, these guys are sitting there watching me fight. I was just watching them 2 UFCs ago, wishing I was them.
Yeah, I Chuck was in my corner, so talk about pressure.
Well, you're used to having Chuck around, though. For me,
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell was just a man.
Yeah, but
You
still,
know,
it was still hard. I had McCarthy, Dana was there. I'm fighting this fucking wrestler who was like 30-1 at the time, whose only loss ever was a split decision to Fitch. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to fight at the Hard Rock. I just probably like you thought too. I got this opportunity, I'm going to do it. But I really,
Yeah, that's all it is.
it's hard to explain to people, but I had such a weight off my shoulders and felt like I could, because I was 9-0 just like you were 9-0 going to that fight, and when you have that kind of record, people put all this pressure on you, and they expect you to win so convincingly, and you're never going to lose, and I feel like that weighs on people, and I think that affects a lot of champions. I think that's something that even affected Anderson Silva before his first Weidman fight. I mean, because he almost felt like so many people expected him to win or were counting him to win so much that he was kind of getting over it. Like he didn't like that.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. It might affect some people. It does not affect all people. And that's just a plain bottom truth. But for people like you and me, it affected us in a positive way or a negative way. Each of us was different. For me, it was a positive thing. For you, I'm not going to try to figure out how you felt from it. All I know is it was needed. And the people who go undefeated and can go undefeated the entire time, to me, that's just a different level of mindset, plain and simple. To be able to handle that, not think about it, not make it something that's a category to be undefeated, not even to ignore it and not make it a big deal, that's a different type of mindset, and I don't think a lot of people have that.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, that's your only loss, and like we said, you got it back twice. That's your only loss, and it's it's definitely impressive with you fighting the best guys in the world. We're gonna wrap this up real quick, but I just want to get some thoughts real quick. TJ Dillashaw versus Lineker looks like it's going to be announced. Do you have anything to say about that fight? Do you think Lineker really poses a threat at this weight?
Yeah, he does, and that's a good fight, man. And besides that, if anybody's gonna give Lineker, a different look at how to deal with knockout power, it's gonna be, Dillashaw, who mixes it up. So it should be a good fight. I mean, good for them. They're building the division. We need that.
Yeah. Assuming, well, we're all going to assume that you get through this fight with Cody. I don't really see Cody, being too much of a threat for you because you're not going to stand there and bang and see who goes down first. But do you welcome a fight with the winner of Dillashaw or Lineker as the number one contender?
I would have taken Lineker for this fight. I would have taken Dillashaw for this fight. It didn't matter. The truth is, what got put in place was what was best for the division, according to the people who run a company worth $4.2 billion.
Yeah.
I could care less what anybody else thinks. Because I'm here to fight and show up for my prize, and I'm going to win my prize. I don't care who you put in front of me. That's what a champion does. It doesn't matter. If you want to be a champion, that's what you do. You don't pick fights. I've had plenty of rematches. I rematched Benavidez twice. I rematched Faber twice. I'll rematch anybody. But right now, I got somebody in front of me. It's Cody, and I'm not looking past this guy. He's undefeated, like you said. He's knocked out everybody he's fought. He's hungry. And if anybody has momentum behind him, it's somebody who's undefeated with all knockouts. So he believes right now. He believes in his own hype. Faber and them are in his head telling him how great he is. And realistically, like I said before, ignorance is bliss. And I got to teach him how ignorant he is in this fight.
Yeah, sometimes when you don't know how to lose, you don't even understand it. So sometimes it helps guys, but I don't know. I know you, and
It's my pleasure to give Cody his first loss. It'll be nice.
Great to hear. One last question: Do you foresee a super fight with DJ coming up anytime in the next year and a half? Do you think it's ever going to happen?
DJ asked for $2 million for a super fight. I'm never going to argue with something like that. The guy's a genius. Me and him fought our hearts out back in at the very
2011
early UFC, 2011, very early UFC 135-pound division, and it was on a channel that wasn't seen that much. But we were an awesome fight then. We would be an awesome fight now, but we got to get paid, And I think that's coming in the horizon. I think a lot of people are going to want to see that fight, especially after I continue to just keep winning. I'm just getting a streak going. I've been out for a while. This will be my third fight this year, and I haven't done that in over 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that, and I'm super excited for just that. Like, I don't need to look ahead to anything else. This is amazing, the fact that I put a 3-fight streak in 1 year together. Come on, man. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I definitely am happy to see you able to get back on track after all these injuries, and you're continuing to build your legacy and remind people that you are, one of the best, if not the best, pound for pound fighter in the world. And again, after everything you've been through, Dom, there's nobody that I'm happier for with their success than you.
Yeah, of course. Love you too, Apple. Like I said, I don't forget the people who helped me out, especially when I needed just nothing but people to believe in me when nobody else would. And realistically, as much of an a-hole as you are, you actually believed that I could win. So thank you. And I'm glad to do this podcast with you because of that.
I appreciate it very, very much, Dom, and you have paid me back, and I love it. And nothing but the best, and I can't wait to see you get that big victory coming up here soon, brother.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, thank you so much.
Yep. All good, man.
There he is, Dominick Cruz, hanging out with us. What'd you think about that, Todd?
Guys, he sounds like a legend.
He is the man. He's one of the best in the world, one of the hardest to hit, and I think that was pretty sweet. This is Erik Apple from American Animals, and if you're a real MMA fan, you know all about the UG, that's the underground, and mixedmartialarts.com. I'm on there every day, and so should you be. I'll tell you what, they do a podcast on Lineup Media FM every week, and it's hands down one of the best MMA podcasts out there. They get huge guests, and they do an incredible job getting access to every part of the sport. Check out the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and ugpodcast.com. Welcome back to American Animals, coming to you from Hollywood, California, here at the Dash Radio Studios. You might also be listening to us on Lineup Media Group platform. That's the Two American Animals podcast. Everyone's got a podcast these days, Todd.
Everyone.
Do you listen to a lot of other podcasts?
You know what? I listen to a few select ones every now and then.
Well, let's talk about it. What shows do you listen to?
I like comedian stuff. The comedian podcast. Yeah, I like just turning them on and just laughing a little bit and just kind of letting loose.
Maybe I need to have some more laughs in my life. Well, I think we're pretty funny just in general when we hang out with the boys.
I mean, I think that might make you a happier human being, Erik.
I really don't watch that many comedies or stand-ups, although I did just watch Joe Rogan, speaking of podcasts, I did just watch Joe Rogan's stand-up. He has a new one that just came out on Netflix. And then the other one I watched is another one on Netflix with that Asian lady, which is fucking hilarious. What is her name? Ali Wong.
Oh, really? I haven't seen any of her material.
There's ads for her on the freeway and stuff. She's 7 months pregnant. She does a stand-up show.
Really?
And she's really, really funny. You should check her out. She talks about feminism and shit. And she's like, fuck all this feminism. All these women like acting like they can do everything like men. Why do they want to fuck it up for us? We used to be able to stay home and fucking watch Ellen and eat fucking bonbons. And now all these bitches are out there acting like they can fucking conquer the world. And now I got to get a job.
That's pretty funny stuff.
Yeah, you should check her out. Check out Ali Wong. I think it's called Baby Cobra or something like that. But that's a pretty funny one. Any other podcasts you actually check out?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I've been going to some live stand-up stuff within the last couple months. And that's kind of how I got into some of the comedic podcast stuff.
Do you go to
I'm a fan of like Bill Burr.
Yeah, I like Bill.
He's hilarious. And then I actually saw Joe Rogan's stand-up deal.
Yeah, I've seen Joe probably 3-4 times in my life.
He's pretty animated, and he's a funny dude when it comes to. It's just weird looking at him as the announcer and everything as for the UFC, and then seeing him in a whole different other light, like just going crazy and cutting people down.
So do you go to the Comedy Store and check it out?
Yeah, I got a Comedy Store, Laugh Factory.
Yeah,
if I see somebody there that I'm interested in, or I see it pop up, I drive by it all the time and go to the gym. So
it's pretty interesting when you see everyone who gets a chance to like try out their shit at places like that.
It's awesome.
And I actually asked Joe. I said, "Well, what do you guys get for playing here?" He goes, "Like $35."
Really?
And he goes, "Most guys don't even fucking wait around for the money or the check. They just come here to try out new material for the next TV show or stand-up special or whatever.
Like some tour they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. They go there to try out
their
material.
Bucks when they're on tour.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, one of the first nights that I ever saw Bill Burr was at, I think, the Comedy Store, and he just dropped in. He wasn't even on,
on the bill.
lineup for the night, and then he was just testing out some material, and he happened to be one of my favorites, obviously the whole night. And there was Pauly Shore, and who else was there? Chris D'Elia.
I mean,
I go to any of these things that'll kind of make me laugh before I get out and.
It's funny being here in Hollywood because there's such like these like the comedy thing is like a real dark, different group of guys, and they're all real eccentric and weird and different. And some are animated, and the whole thing with the comedians is always trips me out.
Yeah, they're all pretty interesting. That's for sure.
For sure.
Nick Swartzen and some of those guys where you just see them at Barney's Beanery at 11 in the morning. Not saying that's a good thing that I'm there at that time. But.
Well, it's also interesting when I see guys like when you see these comedians who are like bigger, larger than life on television or in movies, but in real life they're like quiet and shy guys. Like you ever hung out with Tosh?
I actually haven't.
Tosh is like a quiet dude when you hang out with him. Yeah, doesn't say a word.
See, a lot of the guys that I've hung around and the guys that are comedians, they're pretty animated and funny just in real life and just kind of cracking jokes and just kind of being exactly what I would expect them to be. David Spade, Swarty, all those guys. It's pretty classic stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to talk about you now. Now, Todd, you work here in Hollywood. You've worked at a bunch of different clubs and worked here in nightlife, promotions, and marketing out here. I want to know what was your first nightlife gig out here in Hollywood?
My very first nightlife gig. It was actually at a spot, believe it or not, called Apple.
I remember the place.
And it was off of Robertson, right in Boys Town over there.
West Hollywood?
Yep, West Hollywood area. Straight club, but...
I used to hang out with a hot girl from there who ended up moving to Miami, like an Asian girl.
Really?
Shocker.
Yeah. Yeah, I would never guess that.
I remember that place. I remember that place for sure.
But it was, it was probably one of the hottest spots in LA. That was back before there was like 15 clubs open in one night. It was, you hit or miss, one or two, and if you didn't make it into that club, you're going to a bar or whatnot. And I started working there and kind of got my go with actually a lady that I just worked with at Warwick recently, Deborah and Frankie Delgado, and some of the people that have been around.
So they both
some of the legends.
They both worked there at Apple as well?
Yep.
Now, what did you do there?
I was just a promoter at the time, and then I kind of just got my go from a couple buddies that I grew up with. This kid that was an artist and a musician at the time, Jesse McCartney.
Yep.
Started going out with him and kind of just networking and meeting a bunch of people and kind of just landed it indirectly.
And now, isn't it interesting how growing up here in LA, growing up here in Hollywood, that your relationships and your friendships turn into careers for so many people here, right?
So strange.
Isn't it really? At the end of the day, you're like, wow.
It literally, it kind of just fell into my lap, and it was just so indirect because, obviously at that age when we're not even of age to be in the club, you're trying to go out and just have fun and get drunk and get laid or, whatever you're doing. And, yes, and then it just kind of, your network's not getting any smaller if you're going out 4, 5, 6 nights a week, meeting more and more people, and it kind of just came out of nowhere. So it was kind of a cool thing. So explain to people what a promoter, someone like on that level, is doing when you're first working in a club. So were you selling tables and stuff like that as well? That's kind of something that comes with time, because you're not going to just go out right away and just know a bunch of people that are willing to buy tables and just go out and spend money. It kind of goes hand in hand with you just being in the clubs kind of for a certain period of time and knowing a bunch of good people, whether it's girls, celebrities, something positive that you're bringing to that club that people want to be around you for. And then, your personality kind of just takes you to the next level, and you start meeting, these people that are out spending thousands of dollars a night on tables and whatnot, sometimes more than that. So, yeah. So even if you're not necessarily selling tables, people are following you to the club and come there to hang out with you and whoever's with you. Yes. And that's kind of the basis of it. 100%. So it's, like I said, it's interesting to see how just hanging out with your friends and knowing the right people, and all of a sudden you're like, well, why don't you come work here? Was it one of those things where Frankie was like, why don't you just come work here? Yeah, it was exactly that. And it was, it was kind of just, everybody that was around our circle and our group was, a bunch of good people and brought around a good crowd that they wanted at the club, and it was one of those things where I was like, oh wow, like I'm already going out as it is anyways, so you mean I'm going to get a free bottle of Grey Goose and I'm going to make money to go out and do what I'm going to do for free anyways? So I mean, I don't know why anybody wouldn't love to do that.
I want to ask, do you, after working in clubs in Hollywood and Vegas for a short period of time as well, do you feel, how jaded are we and how jaded are you?
I'm definitely super jaded with things. I mean, it's kind of like I'm a little bit spoiled towards things, and I mean, you kind of just expect people to roll out the red carpet for you wherever you're going and just have everything easy. Otherwise, I'm really not into it, which is obviously not the best thing. But
did you find it nearly impossible to wait for anything or stand in line for anything?
I'm very impatient. I mean, if I'm waiting for more than a minute, I'm pulling my hair out.
What do you mean I gotta?
Crazy.
What do you mean wait?
Yeah, wait.
What's that mean?
Yeah, that's why if something's not done properly, like whether it's going backstage for a concert or walking right in, or if it's not done and it's not just there and just easy to do, I'm okay with just staying home or doing something else with friends and whoever else.
Now, do you, since you've grown up in this kind of lifestyle and with these kinds of people, do you ever have a conscious moment where you like think about the people you're around or who you're with, or does it not even dawn on you? Like, or do you ever look around and go, fuck, like I'm hanging out with like fucking, I don't know, 50 Cent, P. Diddy, fucking, I'm at G-Eazy's house. Do you ever like think about that shit? Like, wow.
To be honest with you, I kind of grew up not really. I think that's why a lot of those kind of people and the artists and the celebrities and the people that I actually do hang around, I think that's why
they're comfortable with you.
Yeah, they're very comfortable with me in that sense, because I've never really been like fanning out on anybody or being, acting extra strange with them to make them feel like, I mean, they're normal human beings. They do the same exact things that we do on a day in, day out basis.
Or worse.
Yeah, 100%. But I've never been like that at all, and I think that's why I have a lot of relationships with these kind of athletes and celebrities and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, it's never really fazed me.
Do you ever I'm constantly entertained when I hang out with celebrities or athletes or whatever, and I see like how fucked up they are. It always cracks me up. It's like all these people look up to this guy or this girl, and he's so famous and he makes all this money, but he's a fucking scumbag. Just
the
like
most out of line. He's more out of line than any human being at the whole.
I just love seeing people who are super. Like one example I'll give you is David Hasselhoff. I used to date a girl who lived in the same building as David Hasselhoff and his family, and David would have these crazy and I know doesn't his daughter go out and all the time here in Hollywood? Remember that?
Yeah, you know what,
the
I
blonde
think
girl?
so. I haven't come across her yet, though.
She used to go out all the time. I haven't seen her in a long time, but she used to. Anyways, I used to date a girl who lived in their building in New York, right? And he is one of those guys, you ever hear of guys when they get in a fight with their chick, they fucking run?
Yep.
And they just don't come back for like days or a week? David Hasselhoff was one of those guys. He'd get in a big blowout fight with his wife, smack her, slap her, or whatever, and the dude would fucking get an ounce of fucking blow or I don't know how much and fucking disappear with a bunch of hookers for like a week and just not come home.
Wow.
And my the girl I was with at the time, she would watch the little girl all the time back then. And I remember and I would hear all the drama. Sometimes I could actually hear the fights going on in the other apartment next door. It would just be fucking, I would just think to myself, like, everyone loves fucking David Hasselhoff, and he's such a fucking awesome scumbag. I love it.
Yeah, you just see the day in and day out David Hasselhoff.
I mean,
make people think a little differently for sure.
At the end of the day, he's still putting his fucking pants on one leg at a time, just like me and you. He's still a human being. He's still going to do what he's going to do.
100%.
Again, guys, make sure you support betdsi.com. Also, check out bjpenn.com. Thanks to both those groups of amazing people for supporting us. And man, we're back. Make sure you check us out on at the number 2 American Animals on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and www.2americananimals.com. You can hear all of our shows. Check out our sponsor, Kicker Headphones. You can check out our Amazon Audibles, our books that we're into. And we're still hanging out with Toddy Bowman here. We are going to be going out to his work, Warwick, tonight. We're going to have a little fun with the boys.
Yes, sir.
So, Todd, I got a couple questions for you. I want to know, what's the best thing about working in nightlife and what's the worst thing? Start with the best.
I would say the best thing is just being around, a bunch of your best friends and good people that you want to be around on a nightly basis, and just being able to party and just, when people are going out and they're professional athletes or they're actors or whatever it is that they're doing, it's their time to let loose and just have a good time, and you're kind of that person that's there to...
You're like the catalyst.
Help them do that. And, that's always been one of my favorite things to do as far as being in nightlife, just being around people when they're just loose and they're totally not, stressed out about anything, and they can just let loose and just, just have a good time and just focus on that for the night as opposed to their profession or career or whatnot. Worst thing.
What's the worst thing?
I would say probably the hours and just the late nights and the after parties and the stuff. It just kind of, when you've been doing it I look back and I've been doing it for 10 years plus now. It just kind of, your body's just starts feeling like wear and tear, and you start breaking down a little bit, and you just, sometimes those hours is just killer when you're, watching the sunrise or whatever it is.
There's got to be
constant. Everybody's always there's always somebody that's in town or an event or just, something that's kind of that excuse, or a birthday or something that's going on where it's just night in, night out.
Does it feel like it never ends sometimes?
It feels like a never-ending party.
There's always a birthday. There's like a birthday every week, or a holiday every week, or something like that.
Yep. And as soon as there's not that birthday, it's an event, or for instance, Halloween was last week, or was this last Monday, but
5 Halloween parties.
But the parties started not the Saturday before Halloween on Monday. They started the Saturday before, which is a week and change this year, which is, to me, is ridiculous. And people are already dressing up a week and a half before. That's just, you have to have 12, 13, 14 outfits.
It's crazy, right?
To kind of get through. So, that to me was pretty, that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts when girls have 4, 5, 6 costumes.
Yeah.
And they're going out in Hollywood, they're going out in Vegas, they're going out in all kinds of places, right?
Yeah, wherever they can get that private jet ride.
Exactly.
For a bag and some red bottoms.
Exactly. I love it. Another question I have for you is, because this is something that I would find as a challenge working in nightlife, it's got to be hard because you're supposed to be there. You're supposed to be there having fun, quote unquote, getting crazy with the boys and living it up. But at the same time, this is your job, and you can't go out there and cross the line and do something regrettable or embarrassing that makes you and or your club look bad. To me, if I worked at a club, I would fuck it up within a month. I would do something fucking terrible. I get fired.
I think anybody that's in the nightlife stuff that actually parties with all these people and does that kind of stuff on a consistent basis can say that they've kind of been there and crossed the line a few times. And if you're partying,
it comes with the territory, right?
It's going to happen from time to time, and you just have to have people that are understanding, and your security guards and the people that kind of just understand the situation and what's going on, and that's just kind of the deal. That's kind of how those guys, you have to realize those guys that are doing security and the GMs and the people that are in the nightclub are 100% sober. So sometimes I ask the guys when I see them outside of the nightclub, hey, you should switch spots with me one night. I'll stay 100% sober, and you do what I do, and host these people and and bring these these clients in that actually get your paychecks over to you.
Yeah. And let's see how well you hold yourself together.
Let's see how that goes, and we'll see how long you like doing that for.
What is there anything in particular, or times that? Was there anything in particular that will set you off and put you over the line to where you lose control, or is there? Can you think of a time where you've just fucking blown it and acted the fool?
Well, I could think of it
a lot of times.
Yeah, I think everybody can, but me myself, I think it's just when you're overly intoxicated and you have way too many drinks, it just gets out of line and everything kind of becomes a blur, and then before you know it, you're apologizing to people the next day, and it becomes not that fun.
And as you get older, now for myself, as I get older, see, when I was younger, I used to never care. And now I get older, and after I get fucked up or I get too super drunk, I'm like, fuck, what did I do? Do I need to call anyone?
Yep. That's because
I didn't used to think that way. Now
like
I do. I'm like, fuck.
You wake up with that anxiety and that feeling of shit. I don't remember what happened. You know, who am I calling to apologize to, like you said, and it just it's kind of scary. And you know what, you get like I get this crazy anxiety now where I just try to stay to a point where I can actually stay coherent enough to put together, you know, everything that happened the night before or whatever.
But it's hard. It's hard to really, when you're in that environment, you know, like you're supposed to party and have fun and show everyone a good time. It's really it's a fine line, isn't it?
Very fine line. And you know, you got these guys that come in and you know they want to spend money on tables and they want to party with you. So when they're offering you 1942 shots or whatever they're buying all night, it's, you know, it takes a lot of willpower to sit there and just say, hey, no, you know, I've had enough. You know, you guys have those, because everybody just wants to keep going.
Yeah,
it's a constant partying and constantly, you know, stuff going on like that.
It sucks to say no to someone who's spending a lot of money and you're trying to show them a good time.
100%. It's the toughest thing.
So tell me what you think about, you know, the nightlife scene here in Hollywood, how it's been lately. I mean, it definitely has its highs and lows. Where do you think that we're at right now?
I think we're in a position right now where there's a lot of stuff that's opening up. There's a lot of people that are just kind of scattered across the city. You know, you have all the Vegas guys that are coming back into town. You have Jason Strauss and all those guys coming in from Vegas, New York. Those guys are, you know, bosses in those towns. And you have them opening up a bunch of new properties right down the street here, actually.
Yeah, we're going to have is it a Tao?
We're going to have a Tao. There's going to be a Lavo. There's going to be...
I can't... Now, where's
Dream Hotel. It's going to be right here on Wilcox.
So like, are they both going to be...
Wilcox. It's going to be off of Selma and Cahuenga right
here. Are Tao and Lavo going to be in the same place?
They're going to be... Like, everything's going to be right next to each other. Beauty and Essex. It's going to be all their locations and stuff that they have. It's going to be all... An Avenue that's in New York.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of stuff coming in. Then you have the SBE that just bought a bunch of properties.
Yeah, SBE's had a pretty big resurgence these days.
Yeah. So I heard that they took over the Mondrian Hotel and all that, the Sky Bar and that whole deal. And then they reopened the old Greystone, which is now Nightingale,
yep.
Which they decided to go against our Wednesday night, which is pretty wild because we lost a lot of people from our club to that spot. So
as far as your staff
and
understood
clients and
I mean, but it doesn't seem like it's affected the club as far as, you know, the people the club still seems full to me.
The club's been great. And we've had a good run so far, and kind of what our idea of the club when we first opened, which was we're coming up on 3 years this month. Our idea was to kind of go against the grain, which back 3 years ago was very DJ driven and just very like clubby, moving lights and lasers and all kinds of stuff. And when we sat down and we came up with our ideas,
you wanted to be more comfortable.
What would be successful? Me, myself, and Sylvan and JT and a bunch of the guys that are involved wanted to go back to the basics and just make it about the party again, as opposed to what DJ's playing and stuff like that. So we wanted to make it a little bit loungier / where you could kind of turn it up or turn it down, and it wasn't about which DJ was there or whatever. It was going to be about seeing beautiful people again and just having all the right people in a certain location again, which was not anybody's thought process at that time when we opened. So
yeah, so for a lot of people who don't understand, in the last 5 years or so in the nightlife industry, especially in Vegas, also here in LA a little bit, but it basically became a bidding war for DJs. And DJs, you know, their fees skyrocketed into six-figure realm where guys are making 150, sometimes even more than 150K out in Vegas for the big clubs like Omnia and Hakkasan, correct?
Yeah, I'm making more than that, actually. It's insane. And we watched it from, you know, come from nothing to just this explosive deal, and it was crazy to watch. Just watch these kids that are, you know, not even 21 yet, making just
six figures a night for one set,
for one gig. Yeah, that's less than 4 hours.
And
it's insane.
And about a year and a half ago, we thought a lot of the clubs in Vegas were going to steer away from that, and people said they were going to, but they haven't really so much, have they?
I don't think so. I think that I think Vegas is waiting for its next thing. I think this, the whole DJ thing, in my opinion, I think it's kind of ran its course, and I think it's kind of, who hasn't seen all these, top 100 DJs yet? I think everybody's pretty much seen it. So it's like one of those shows where, or for instance, it's like anything, some of these deals that you get at the X Games, as soon as people have seen the same thing over and over and over, there needs to be a new wave and, something new that people are going to see and witnessing.
Well, one thing that I definitely noticed a difference, when we were kids, if somebody like a Tiesto was playing at a club, it was like, oh my God, fucking Tiesto's playing. You remember?
Yep.
And nowadays, all the time, it's like I'll go to hang out at XS or wherever, and we'll be sitting there on the stage partying with our friends, and I'll look over, and it's like fucking Diplo, and I didn't even know because I wasn't paying attention because I didn't give a fuck. Because I've seen Diplo play 50 times in my life at least, right?
Yep, I agree.
And it's almost like...
Or you'll look over at Warwick and just see those guys wanting to be there and partying and hanging out and just doing something completely opposite of what they're used to doing, which is cool.
So what I'm saying is it's almost like the mega clubs with the mega DJs almost kind of ruined it because nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of like I said. I think, in my opinion, it's ran its course, and I think hip hop and all that kind of stuff is coming back in a very big way.
It's going to come back to just having fun in the club, and who cares who the DJ is,
and maybe some of mixed in with some performances from those guys and just cool stuff.
So do you think that the DJ fees have really dropped off in the last 2-3 years?
I'm not exactly positive because I'm not signing any of their checks. So I'm thinking that if the clubs aren't as successful as they were, as far as sales and whatnot, I'm assuming that they can't just be in red ink at the end of the night. So I'm assuming that they're not going to be making the money that they were if the club's not doing the numbers. It's all relative.
It's hard for people out there who don't work in nightlife or haven't spent a lot of time around people who run clubs, but people don't understand a place like XS or Omnia in Vegas on New Year's Eve or on their big nights and holiday weekends, they can do $1 million at the bar.
Plus,
over $1 million in alcohol
before
sales.
Before they even open their doors that night, they already have credit card pre-auths, and they're already $1 million, just in pre-sold tables. They're already, before these people even walk in the door, $10,000, $20,000 dance floor tables, and it's insane.
Yeah. Then it sort of makes sense. Okay, you're making over $1 million. If you're going to pay $150,000, $200,000 for a big DJ, then I understand. But I almost feel like that that industry has been held hostage by the DJs. It's like just a battle who has the biggest DJ that night.
I agree. It's become kind of a craze, and it's been insane.
So it's pretty insane for you guys and your partners at Warwick that you guys never had to fall into that game.
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate for that. And LA, if you look at LA as a whole, it hasn't really been the biggest DJ market, as like an Avalon or something in LA that's kind of a bigger venue that's kind of more DJ driven with a stage and stuff like that. You have kind of more boutique-y, smaller, venues in LA. It's not, it doesn't really cater to, if you have a big DJ or whatever it is, at one of these smaller clubs, it doesn't really cater to, what these guys are used to playing in front of. Some of these guys play at, your EDCs and, these venues that hold thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. So, when you get a nightclub that's capacity is 400 people, that doesn't really cater to a big DJ.
Yeah, there's no way for you guys to recoup if you spent that money anyways.
Yeah, you'd have to have some monster come in and just spend, kind of pay for the DJ himself.
So I know you talked about a little bit for a second, but we're going to be finishing up here in just a minute. But where is nightlife in Hollywood going? Where is it moving towards?
You know what? I'm very interested to see it within the next couple months, just to see the direction. When we have all these different clubs opening up, and you're going to have some people, some groups, and some people that are going to be teaming up with one another, and you're going to have some animosity with other ones, and I think there's going to be some people that choose sides, and stuff works well between the different groups and clubs and whatnot, and then you're going to have some people that are going up against each other and kind of battling it out. So I'm very interested to see. I think I've always been the kind of guy where you should just kind of stay neutral with everybody and be cool with everybody, and everybody kind of supports each other. But unfortunately, LA is not like that. So I'm actually very interested myself to see the direction it's headed.
Do you think it's going to be a big challenge for Jason Strauss and the Tao Group guys to be real successful with multiple venues in Hollywood?
I think they're going to be well off because they've built that brand up so well in so many different cities that they're going to be killer. I think they'll be good, and they're really good at what they do as far as everything that I've seen, restaurant-wise, nightclub-wise. And, you know, as long as they plug the right people in and have, you know, good people that are LA people that understand the town well, I think those guys are going to be awesome. I think they'll be well off.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to have to farm in some.
They're going to have some LA recruits and some people that kind of know the LA ropes out here, because, I mean, I'm born and raised here, and I have been going out for over 10 years now, and I learn something, you know, every week.
You meet someone new every night, right?
Yeah, meet somebody new, or you just learn something new about what's going on, or just the town in general, or a new guy that moved into town, or whatever it is. But you're constantly out here, and, you know, for those guys to be bouncing around how many different venues they have in different cities, you know, it's going to be tough. They're going to have some, you know, the right team players plugged in the right spots to make everything happen.
So what does the future hold for yourself? What's the future hold for Todd Bowman? Like, where do you move from this spot in your life, and you're moving forward in the nightlife industry, or do you want to get out of this?
I actually want to stay in it. I actually want to be involved with nightclub stuff and nightlife stuff, as well as you know, some restaurant stuff. And I just helped Sylvan and JT with some guys, and we opened up a barbershop, yeah, which has been kind of cool. It's been going really well.
What's it called?
It's called Like a Gentleman.
Like a Gentleman, and that's on Hollywood Boulevard?
It's on Sunset? Off of Sunset and just a little bit west of San Vicente.
And how do people find it on social media?
We can just look. You can just look up Like a Gentleman on Instagram, and
at Like a Gentleman, yeah. just like it sounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's been it's been going well so far, and we're looking to kind of, you know, get a few of them open within the next couple of years.
Oh, that's dope.
Kind of maybe have somebody come along and maybe say, hey, and we'll offer you X amount of money for putting them all over the place.
Nice.
So that's kind of the main goal with that. So, but we're just, you know, one thing at a time. So we're just working on the one that we got right now, and we have a bunch of good people, and obviously our network of guys that we have coming into the clubs. Everybody, it's not like you're not going to get your hair cut. So.
Tell us, how can people find you on social media? How do people find Todd Bowman? What do you have going on?
Todd Bowman. Just
at TODDBOWMAN?
No, at Toddy, TODDY _ Bow. That's me on social media, Twitter and Instagram. And that's kind of, I've been a little silent the last few weeks, couple months on social media. I'm kind of just figuring out where it's going and just kind of sitting back from afar and assessing it.
We've been having all kinds of big numbers on our downloads and listeners here at American Animals, so some new people are going to hear your story and be able to check you out, Todd.
We'll have to get back on there then.
You got to keep them entertained.
Post some photos.
You can't leave for too long, or they'll get sick of you and they'll be over it. You got to be consistent.
Good man.
All right, well, man, I think we did all right without having my partner in crime here, my co-host, Ian McCall, who's at home. Again, he has a fight November 19th. He'll be fighting in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, wow.
The UFC, he's coming back. He his last two fights in a row, his opponents pulled out the weekend of the fight. And we're hoping he makes it to this one and is able to put on a performance. Remember, Ian is the former #1 ranked flyweight in the world. And he's on the road to getting that belt back, because he is the last person to be able to beat, or actually he came to a draw with the champion. No one's done that in years. So Ian's looking to get back on track and do that. So good luck to Ian. We hope you feel better, and we'll see him next week. And for Toddy Bowman, I'm Erik Apple hanging out here. And again, check us out at 2AmericanAnimals.com. I'm sorry, at 2AmericanAnimals. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And check us out at www.2AmericanAnimals.com. Subscribe, follow, like us, do all that shit. Stop fucking lurking, right?
Yep.
Hate those fucking lurkers. And we will see you guys next week.
This podcast was a presentation of lightupmedia.fm.